topic is understanding cleaning techniques with water fed at extreme heights. So we get this sometimes where guys get a warrior and they want to go out to 5, 6, and 7 stories. 5 stories is not such a big difference, but once you get to 6 and 7, then by the nature of gravity on the pole and depending how far away you are from the building, like if this is you and this is the brush, the further away from the building you have to be, the more gravity will pull on the pole, right? So what the gravity pulls on the pole 100% when it's vertical, but you can't clean windows because you have no pressure in the Z direction. Can you see that? X, Y, and Z, right? So that Z is towards the glass. So we want pressure towards the glass in the Z plane. I don't know if it's a plane, but basically in the Z direction. And so the further we move away from the glass, the more the gravity pulls down. And as it pulls down, it applies a vector this way and that way in a percentage. So if the pole's at 45 degrees, half of the effective gravity is going this way, half of the effective gravity is going that way. So that's basically how the vectors work. So so we don't want to go too far away from the building because the pole will have more pull on it. So basically its rigidity is compromised, the further away and the longer the pole gets. Remembering that the top of the pole is only 1 inch thick as an outside diameter and the bottom of the pole is 2 inches thick. So it's more likely to flex at the top. So if you go to 7 stories and you have to step back far enough, then you'll find that the pole will flex and then the number 1 section will be close to parallel to the glass. And so the technique, if you watch the pole flex, then the technique changes. The reason the technique changes is because there's flex in the pole. So if there's no flex in the pole, the standard technique, the radial technique works, everything is fine. As the pole flexes, as you get higher, then you have this phenomenon that you are no longer working in a straight line. So you've pushed the brush up and the pole has flexed, and then the pole will straighten at the top of the push. And then on the way down, it's all gravity. You don't pull the brush down, you just allow the brush down because gravity is going to bring the whole pole down in your arms. So when you get to the apex of that movement at the bottom of the window, the pole is relatively straight. You're going to push. The harder you push, the more force you apply, the more flex you'll put into the pole by the nature of you putting pressure this way and the pole wanting to flex with the force of gravity. So you're adding to the force of gravity. So, pardon me. So the art of cleaning extreme heights is the more the pole is flexing, the slower the transition only at the bottom of the window. Just the slower the transition. So you just apply force slowly, and then you can accelerate the brush to the normal height, the normal speed, till it gets to the top of the window, and then you let gravity bring it down. But if you're cleaning 2 stories, you might go da, 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 and move to the next window. If you're doing extreme height, then you're going to push the brush up. On the way down, you're then going to kind of almost allow the brush come to the bottom and then push it back up, gently, and then accelerate it to the top of the window. Always remember you should, as much as possible, clean with full length strokes of the windows. It's much more efficient, Just like straight pull cleaning with a squeegee is more efficient time-wise than fanning, right? You take too much time to fan, as pretty as it is.
And also you should really know your brush, how it works perfectly until you start going really high, right? So
yeah, definitely. If somebody's new to this, then we always say, like, the first thing you do is take the number 1 section out of your Warrior or your Tactical or your Mini, and then practice the brush on nose to glass where you can see how it goes across top edge, how the water drops away when you angle the brush, how it scrolls through the corners, how the water rinses the corner, how to angle it slightly on the way down the frame so all the flush water is taking any debris that you got out of the corners, and any debris that's on the glass is all coming off one side.
Use the radial technique.
The radial technique, that's what we call it. So and also you'll find that if your pole is flexing, it's much harder to scroll a brush through the corner. So that's why we have deep frame. Usually if you're going to extreme heights, then you're really just doing up-down cleaning, and the idea of attacking the corners is not very practical at those heights. There's no other brush can clean a corner as efficiently as a radial anyway, so you're not any worse off than any other brush, but we don't focus on the cleaning of corners on commercial buildings. Usually it's the contrast effect that the property manager wants, which is people aren't going to be looking into the corners on a 6-story office block window to see if the corners are perfectly clean, you know.
It would be deep frame rocker.
Deep frame rocker is the one.
Various,
yeah.
Understanding the straps, how they,
Yeah.
what debris they remove.
Yes.
So
Yes.
because if you don't see the window, it's hard to know if it's perfectly
Yes.
clean.
Yes. And what we find is that I don't even know how high BPOO would be. Somebody might know how high they've found BPOO on windows, but I'm guessing it's not at 6 stories, right? Just for whatever reason, I don't know.
Icarus
But you don't.
on a beach.
The Icarus. Classic.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You know, we don't hear about anybody having problems getting debris off glass at extreme heights. It's usually just the nature's, you know, dirt and stuff like that, unless it's a construction clean or something like that. So that's the technique. Now, after you've cleaned, let's say it's 6 stories, you're going to take some of the pole off the bottom of the pole. So you might take sections 7 and 6 off a Warrior and put them on the ground, and then you're going to clean the 5th floor. You've got less weight in the pole. You're cleaning at a lower height. So what happens is the pole, whatever flex was in the pole at 6 stories becomes less and quite possibly minimalized. And then at 4 stories and below, obviously Warrior, you know, is completely rigid, and you're back into, you know, being able to clean corners and use the pole as an axle, right? But at above 4 stories, mostly you're going to be using it as a drive shaft only, right? You're just going to be pushing it up and down, or a piston kind of action. So the key to remember for any of you who are going first time into extreme heights water fed is to change the behavior of how you deal with the brush as it gets to the bottom of the window. You slowly accelerate it up the window. So the bottom quarter of the window, you're just going to push it up and accelerate it just a little bit less than what you might do if you were cleaning 2-story windows.